So, JR, welcome to the show. Welcome to the episode. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you make money?
Yeah, well, first off, who I am is a child of God, and so that's always number one in my life, and is my faith and who I am and stuff like that. And so I love that question because it opens up opportunity to know the heart of who the individual is. But I am a father of 5, and I got all of them are under 10 years old. My youngest is 2 months old now, as of tomorrow. And I grew up kind of going back from early childhood because it's important from understanding my leadership skills and why I ended up to where I am today. Is, I grew up in a martial arts school, and my mom always owned a business. And so since I was about 2 years old, I've been training in martial arts, been teaching since I was about 6 or 7 years old, and then, national competitor in different styles and stuff like that, which then transitioned me to the military, which led me to other leadership skills and traits and business and things like that. And so I've been an entrepreneur since 2007. And I got out of the military at that time, and people was like, "Why didn't I stay in?" It's because I had every intention of staying in and making a career out of it, but I had a pretty rough deployment. I survived a suicide bombing in Barwana, Iraq, at a walking checkpoint on February 7, 2007, and got injured pretty bad on the right side of my body. Was left unconscious and just even today still have a lot of injuries on the right side of my face, my back, and my arm, and things like that. And so just had some reflection of what I wanted to do with my life. What do I want to be when I grow up? And so I decided to get out, and originally thought I would be in full-time ministry and worship ministry and stuff like that. And went to Bible school, did that for about 1 semester, and realized I'm already playing music and leading worship at churches and stuff. I don't need a degree for it. And then so I end up within months of getting out of the military, was going to school, building my first business at that time, and just kind of moving from next to the next without stopping. And so I, at that same time, I started a martial arts school out of St. Louis, Missouri, which I'm originally from, built that up really well after a few years. And then, I joined a mastermind, taught me how to, 3 main things, which, if I can give a little teaching things to the audience right here, is, when I first started my business, it was a martial arts school. So I knew how to teach martial arts. I knew how to lead people. I didn't know how to run a business. I was pretty bad at it. I sucked at it. So I joined a mastermind. And there was 3 main things that the mastermind and my coach taught me at the time. His name's Mike Metzger. I love shouting him out because he changed my life. And he only works with small martial arts school owners and through Century Martial Arts and stuff like that. But the first thing he showed me how to do was how to create offers. Most people don't know how to create that irresistible offer that can be appealing to saying, aha, that's that moment of saying, yes, I need that. And so when he showed me how to create my offers, I was terrified because I come from very much old school martial arts where people pay you $50 a month to show up, to teach and do what you got to do. And then here, this guy is coming and saying, hey, you know what? You need to get rid of the $50 a month and you just start selling contracts. And I was like, I was anti-contract my whole life. If someone wants my services, they're going to keep coming back. And that's the mentality that a lot of broke entrepreneurs have. They're like, well, if people want to work with me, they'll find me, they'll attract me, and they'll ask me questions. I'm like, yeah, you can keep living that mentality. But what did Jesus say to his disciples? He said, follow me. He didn't wait for people to come to him. He went to them and said, follow me. And that's the mentality that we need to start gaining is we need to go out there, hunt, find, and ask people to continue to work with us. So he showed me how to create offers where I was going $50 a month to now I'm selling $125 to $300 a month on 12 and 36 month contracts. That was terrifying. And so, but part of after creating those offers, he showed me the next greatest thing was how to host an event. An in-person experience. And this is what I call and teach entrepreneurs today on how to host one-day events. These are small workshops. There's 6 different types of events I walk people through. But he showed me how to host this one-day event. And the first event that I hosted, which was around the beginning of 2008, was a Bring a Buddy, Break a Board Day. And I was like, okay, that's easy. I can bring a bunch of kids. I was guerrilla marketing, going door to door, putting out flyers on cars and, and just reaching out to a bunch of people saying, hey, come, we got this awesome event. It's free and stuff like that. And fill up the room with, I don't remember, 20, 30 something kids. And it was great. The energy was really high. We got them running. They all broke the board. Everyone was cheering. It was a great time. Then the time came to sell, which is the third thing that Mike taught me how to do, was how to sell to a group. And so I am sweating. I had a fun time with all the kids, but now I'm like beat red. I'm sweating. My heart is pumping. I'm like, what if they say no? What if they laugh at me? What if, all the what ifs. And so I took all the parents to this back room that I had in my school. and I sit them down, and I'm going through my value ladder, my offer stacked in the contract. I'm saying, hey, you know what? This is what it's going to cost to be able to do it. And I kid you not, I closed $270,000 in new contract sales that first day for my first event, and that's where the light bulb went off for me. So ever since then, I've been able to duplicate that process over and over and over again to 7 different businesses I built on my own, helping more than 1,000 entrepreneurs start, grow, and scale their businesses by utilizing this model, but not just that model, more business skills and how to create offers, how to actually build systems and processes, and how to network, how to communicate, how to exemplify emotional intelligence or servant leadership to be able to build. And today I run an organization called Business Leaders Network. Our network is only for business owners and leaders and founders. And our mission is to build a community of emotionally intelligent servant leaders through education, visibility, connections, and referrals. And we only look for those that that exemplify emotional intelligence and servant leadership. But what is emotional intelligence? Everyone thinks that they know what EI actually is, but I actually learned emotional intelligence from the studies of Walt Disney. One of my coaches that I had for many years, personal friend of mine for more than 16 years. He has his doctorate degree on entrepreneurial leadership, and he wrote his doctoration, that's what you call it, from Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, and Milton Hershey. And one thing that he showed me about Walt Disney was for you to be able, back in the day, I don't know if they still do it, but back in the day, if you wanted to work with Walt Disney, his organization, you had to exemplify these 5 character traits of emotional intelligence. And the first one was you had to have self-awareness. Second one, you had to know how to regulate. So self-regulation. Yep. Third thing is motivation. Fourth thing is empathy. And the fifth thing is social skills. So if you don't know how to exemplify those 5 key character traits, you will not get a seat on the table with Walt Disney and his organization. And so those are key things that I really look for, because growing up, I grew up in a single family home with my mom, and I have 4 sisters. So I'm one of 5. I'm the second oldest. There was a lot of drama, a lot of women in my life. And so, in a good way, not a bad way, but I didn't really know what it meant to how to handle conflict resolution. And I really didn't know how to handle conflict resolution until I met my wife. And she was like, we need to learn how to communicate. We know, and we still are pretty bad at it, but we're better than what we were. I mean, I've been with my wife since 2004. So what is that, 22 years now? Yeah. This year. And so we've been together that long, and we've been married, I think 17 years this September. So, but anyways, when it comes to business, be able to grow a business and convert more sales and opportunities or more opportunities into sales and convert them. It's not as hard as you think when you understand emotional intelligence, when you understand how to relate and have empathy when you don't want to, when you start learning how to listen instead of just waiting for that next thing to be able to say. But when you understand emotional intelligence, and then the second part, servant leadership, then you're going to start closing more business every single day. And so within our community of Business Leaders Network, we really look for those people that understand what does it mean to have emotional intelligence, but what does it mean to give without expecting anything in return. Yeah. I just had a call with one of my members of my community today. And, as they were talking, they were kind of mentioning, saying, hey, you know what, for me to see the ROI in the community, I need to gain some more business and referrals from the community and stuff. And I said, hey, if that's your mentality, then we are not the good fit for you. And we probably need to have a different conversation of why you don't belong in our community. And then they started backtracking. He's like, no, that's not what I meant. But the reality was, inside of our community, if you're looking and saying, hey, you know what, your ROI is only based off how much money you're going to make from the members inside of our community, then you already lost. Yeah. Zig Ziglar said it best: the more you help people get what they want, the more you're gonna get. And to me, that's the heart of everything, and that's the heart that Jesus wants us to have. Jesus wants us to go out there and serve people, and from the placement of the heart, not by what am I going to gain from it. Through the end, you're gonna gain a lot more, whether it's going to take longer or faster. You're going to gain a lot more by helping and serving and giving to other people than it is just going in there with a desperate mentality. We all want more money. We all want more business. We all want times where we can actually, build the legacy or the vision or the dream that we want. But sometimes it doesn't come at the speed that we want. I mean, gosh, if you look at empires of some of the greatest people out there, Walt Disney being one of them, Steve Jobs with Apple, I mean, Amazon, all these huge organizations that we all know the brands of today, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right away. It didn't happen in 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, or you probably 5 or 10 years.
We look at their chapter 22 and we're on chapter 1. Yep.
Yeah, and most of them went through more struggles than we even do. And we look at our struggles, be like, "Oh my gosh, I got filed bankruptcy. I can't sleep at night because I didn't get $10,000 this week or this month." It's like, shut up. Something like I look at my wife, and I have to remind myself this all the time. My wife, when we first got married, worked in corporate America, and she worked for a company that did employee benefits. She was a financial advisor, and it took her 7 years to get a $10,000 raise at her company. 7 years. We have, in 2026, we have an opportunity to make a $10,000 raise in less than a couple weeks or a month. And it's like, we're complaining that we're not getting it fast enough. I mean, come on. I mean, we got more opportunities than any other people in this entire world to generate revenue now, but yet we want that satisfaction today. Hit me that button, give me that check, give me that credit card. I want that money. When you have to think about, you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
You have to be
100%.
ready and prepared to be able to handle the amount of responsibilities that it takes to have a bigger business. And if you look at JR from even 20 years ago, when I first got out of the military, I'm like, I thought I knew it all. JR knew nothing wrong. And yet everything that I did was like, hey, you know what? It's this way or that way. And, I would get the knife hands like, no, you're wrong. You got to listen to what I say because this is how it is. And I'm like, I was the biggest idiot that there ever was, whether it comes to business or whatever it was. And like, I love the song. I think it's by Mercy Me saying, "Dear Younger Me." And he sings this song. It's like, "Dear Younger Me, it's not your fault." And all these different things. I'm like, man, it isn't your fault that you don't know. But the thing is, you have to learn and have this. You need to have the desperate mentality of what can I learn? What can I soak in? To do it so that, and knowing that you're not just building what you're doing today for you. You're doing it for other people, your family, the legacy that you want to create. And that's why when we make the choice to be a business owner, we make the choice to really make an impact. But what is that impact? What is a leadership? What is influence? Well, influence is really about helping other people get the desires that they want to make change.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a great leader. A great leader is knowing how to influence others towards change. And yet it's not about being a dictator saying, hey, do what I say because I'm right and you're wrong. It's about how can you help them make those habits, those changes, so they can multiply and duplicate your processes to be able to make a bigger impact long term. And that's kind of what I'm focused on. I'm focused on is like, hey, you know what? I'm willing to take a cutback so I can keep investing in more people to help them become better so we can have a bigger legacy long term. And God already has given me this big vision and I'm chasing after it and I'm willing to do it slow no matter how long it takes. And this is why people fail. People fail because they give up. They give up too soon. They're wanting that success today. And if they don't get it, they're moving on to that next thing. Every time you move to that next thing, to the next offer, to the next opportunity, you're confusing the audience that you work so hard to listen to you. Now they don't even know what you do. And so if we just stick with something and keep improving what we're doing and not give up, it doesn't care. There is no magic sauce when it comes to a marketing strategy. The secret sauce is just sticking with it. It's
consistency.
So my old consulting company that I ended up converting to Business Leaders Network was called Creed Consulting. And that's the name of my old podcast. I haven't done it for very many years, but I interviewed, I don't even know how many people, but I ran it for about 4 years. And, but when I was thinking about what I wanted to call my consulting organization, I started to write down the core values, and every organization needs to really think about, like, what is the core values? What do I stand for? What is the culture that I want to establish inside of my community? And when I started writing it all down, it stood for commitment, resilience, excellence, execution, and discipline. And then I started looking, I was like, that stands for Creed. That's where I came with Creed Consulting. And then if you look at the dictionary definition of Creed, it stands for belief. And so when you start looking at what are the things that we need to be a great entrepreneur, knowing that if we really follow these steps, that it's bulletproof and I won't fail. Well, one, you got to commit. You got to commit to long-term success. You got to commit to doing the hard. You got to commit to the work that's going to take. You got to be resilient. You got to give up. You got to keep going even when it's going to be hard. You're going to have days where you're like, man, you know what? My chest is feeling tight. I don't know how I'm going to make payroll. I don't even know what I'm going to eat today. I don't know where I'm going to sleep. But you got to be resilient and push through and keep going. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Bedros Keuilian, but Bedros Keuilian, he owns one of the biggest fitness franchises called Fit Body Boot Camp. And I got to see him live many times and talk to him. But there was one thing that he said to me probably, I don't know, it's probably 15 more years ago, and it just stuck. And he started building his franchise during the recession of 2008. And he's an immigrant that came from another country, poor as you can be, has a family, moving to the U.S. in California, which we know, out there is not cheap to live and stuff, but in California, and building this franchise. And he said, for him, if I don't do this one thing, then I'm going to show up to my house and find my wife and my kids murdered cold blood on the floor. And for him, it had to be that extreme to get him to move, but that caused that mentality of resilience and commitment to keep going. And so when we give ourselves a consequence, be like, if I don't do this and this is going to happen, I have to show up. I got to do it. Then you're going to do it. But most people aren't willing to have that commitment or the resilience. The other thing is too, is like, you can't settle for good enough, and you got to show up with excellence. In martial arts, we always talk about having black belt excellence, always showing up and giving your best no matter what happens. And so when you're in that ring and you're fighting, it's like you gotta do everything with excellence and not just stand there, or else you're gonna get hurt, because it's you going after them and them coming after you. And if you don't fight back, you're gonna get hurt. So everything you do is not settling for good enough or just okay. It's settling in for excellence, and then you got to take immediate action. So it's that excellence, but the execution. And so you got to do that, and then you got to have the discipline to show up and do the hard. When people want to take vacations because they're an entrepreneur, or people want to take time off because they feel like they can as an entrepreneur, you have to have the discipline to do the thing. Show up, do the work every single day. Work longer hours, work later. I mean, we thought we were trading a 9-to-5 job, getting paid $200,000 a year, to now you're working. Instead of 40 hours a week, you're working 80 hours a week and getting paid a fraction of that.
Exactly.
But that's why being an entrepreneur is all about having that vision. In Bible, it says, without a vision, you will fail. And so we really got to think about, like, what is that vision? And if you don't know where you're going, that destination, then you're going to keep steering off the wrong track. And if you keep steering off the wrong track long enough, you're going to be miles and miles away from where you wanted to go. And people confuse vision and mission all the time. Vision is about the destination where you go. Mission is the process of how you get there. And so, so any entrepreneurs out there, really think about, like, what is that one thing you're most committed to, that you're going to be resilient even through the most difficult times, showing up every day, giving your best, and having that mental and physical discipline to complete your mission.
And I think that's an interesting dynamic that I think a lot of military veterans bring to the table. I mean, the entrepreneurial is a whole different world for them, of course, because they're used to being told what to do, when to do, how to do it. And you become a business owner and you're like, you got to go figure all that out yourself, as you alluded to. Like, you can be the smartest roofer out there, but if you don't know how to do marketing and you don't know how to go hire all that out, it becomes very difficult. But I find what several of your key points that you talked about there is, military has to do the hard. They don't have a plan B in a fight, right? There is a plan B, but plan B could be everybody dead, right? I mean, like, their repercussions are great, right? So I think they walk into a business ownership with a different mindset. You know what I mean? A different level of pain. Like, they're willing to do the consistent work, because the pain in running a business, honestly, is not usually as great as the experiences that they've had to endure right on a military front.
Here's something crazy about that people don't think about when it comes to someone that serves in the military. We all volunteered and chose to go.
Yeah.
And so we go in with that mentality, knowing the risk that it takes to sacrifice. Yeah. Like, there's going to be a moment where you're going to have a bomb explode by you. We know that risk. But here's the thing about entrepreneur. You made the choice to be an entrepreneur, and you need to understand the risk that is involved to be an entrepreneur. But no matter everything in life, there is no security in life. Even if you worked with a company, they can fire you right on the spot. And now what? And so, but if you understand the key skills traits, one of selling, and then two, how to create offers, like one, how to create offers, and two, how to sell, you should always be able to find opportunities.
100%. And I think you touched a lot. I mean, you had a lot of great points there. And the other thing is, like, what drives you, right? Like, what's your why? What's your reason? And most people, as you gave in the guy that was running the Fit Boot, was most people run from pain, right? Faster than they run to pleasure, right? And so by putting a lot of those images in your head of, hey, this is going to be the pain, you're more apt to succeed in that than if you were to reward yourself, let's just say. Has that been your philosophy and mindset too?
Yeah. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. And so for, like, one, you got to understand I believe the Bible is like the blueprint for every business owner. And so
Yeah.
without vision, you'll perish. And so you got to know where you're going. But when we're talking about the pain, we all got to figure out like, what is that one thing that we are fighting for? And so for me, it's really simple. It's my family. I'm fighting for my family and every person there. I know if I don't show up, then we won't have a roof overhead. We won't have food. We won't be able to have the lifestyle or the activities that we get to do. We wouldn't have the opportunity to homeschool all of our kids and my wife to be able to stay home to do the things that we get to do. So that is my why. And it has to hurt enough knowing that. And so for people to have that level of discipline, I mean, if you just show up every day, wake up every day, and you don't have a purpose or a drive or something you're chasing after, it's going to be really hard to have that discipline to do the things that it takes to succeed. So you got to find that purpose that's going to drive you.
Yeah. And I think that's even an accountability partner. That's that coaching feedback, right? That is the moment you push back on why somebody doesn't show up, because if they have a deep enough passion and a deep enough why, that's the emotional leverage that you put on them to say, by you not showing up today, you just cost your daughter a trip to right her school dance, right, or whatever it is.
Yep.
So cool, awesome. Oh, dude, that was such good knowledge and such good nuggets. I really appreciate that. I know you got to get it to a meeting here in a few minutes. So if you don't mind, let me kind of jump into a lightning round real quick, and then we can find out how people can connect with you if they want to reach out to you, and we'll wrap up with that. So what's your favorite business book?
You know what? I have a lot of great books, but there's one that I read when I first got out of the military by Danny Johnson called First Steps to Wealth. And that book changed everything for me when it came to like entrepreneurship, because she talks about communication, but also the one thing that people value most in life is themselves. And so she goes through a communication process and an acronym called FORM, which stands for family, occupation, recreation, and then your message. And it gave me a framework of how to communicate with other people, especially when it came to sales or when it came to family. It's like we need to learn to listen to other people and value them as human beings and a gift from God before we start talking about ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Favorite AI tool?
Oh, I'm really digging Claude right now. So Claude has been one of my biggest AI tools for everything right now. And I go back and forth with Claude and ChatGPT, but Claude is my big AI tool right now.
Yeah, that seems to be the going trend for sure. On your phone, let's say, what app do you open the most on your phone? If somebody were to look at how much time was spent on an app?
Facebook.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm on Facebook all the time, and whether people want to admit it or not, the reality is most of the population is on Facebook. Even entrepreneurs and CEOs. I mean, gosh, I'm talking to someone right now who's getting ready to make 06 into the military, and he's on Facebook. And people would be like, "No, not everyone's on Facebook. All my business contacts are on LinkedIn." I was like, I guarantee you they're on LinkedIn. They're probably on Facebook. So I'm on Facebook and social media strictly for networking and connections. Yeah. And I made my entire fortune from Facebook over any other platform.
Yep. Love that. What is your most impactful habit you have?
Worship. Playing my guitar, singing, leading worship. I mean, I'm obsessed with worship. I'm obsessed with playing my guitar, writing music, and helping lead others to the cross.
Yeah, love it. What's one solid KPI that you would look for? What is one you use?
When I'm looking at my KPIs, like how many people did I serve today? Like how many people did I impact today? And so when I'm looking, I don't really look at it from a money standpoint. I look at the KPI from like, okay, who did I impact? Who did I serve? Did I give referrals today? And so it's like I try to make it my goal of giving at least 3 to 5 referrals and connections every single day to someone in my community.
Love that. Last question for you. What is your definition of leverage?
Leverage? Well, first off, the one thing I like to say is that my framework that I learned on how to scale any business is, first, you got to create that system and process that allows you to delegate, so it eliminates you from the process so you can participate in the business. And so that leverage allows you to participate in where you don't have to be in or do everything, but you get to choose to. And so leverage is a powerful tool that allows you to do the things that you want to do, spend that time with the family, do the trips that you want to be able to do, or sit on the couch and do nothing if you choose to. But that's what leverage and delegation allows you to have.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, JR. Like that was a fantastic episode. I wish we could have done like an hour, dude. So much nuggets, so much intelligence behind those statements you have. Clearly you have a mind for business, experience for business. But one of the more intellectual speakers that we've had in the last few episodes. So anyways, really appreciate you. If people want to connect with you, if they want to reach out to you, they always know they can come through me, but how could they find out more information about you and your business?
Yeah, well, first off, I do invite a lot of seasoned entrepreneurs to be a guest on what I call my BLN roundtables. And this is an opportunity where I get to interview other entrepreneurs in groups of 3 to 10 people. And then we help market them on social media and YouTube and all the other places. But it's a great time to network. And so if anyone is listening to this and saying, hey, you know what, I want more visibility, I want to connect, that is a great place to do it. And so they can find me through our website, which is blncommunity.com. And that's blncommunity.com. You can go in there. You can fill out our form. You can request to reach out to me and stuff like that. But that's going to be the number one place to go to.
Cool. Hey, I'm serious enough. I'm gonna go check it out. I'm telling you, half the guests that I have on here, I end up at least exploring their business in some capacity. Heck, I had a chiropractor that's a local guy that just started a podcast a week ago with me, and I'm like, I don't have a chiropractor. I'll show up the next day, and sure enough, I do what I say. I show up, and again, if there's the right opportunity, like this is why I do this, because there's just cool things that people are doing that we should all get some experience with. So again, appreciate your time.